Hello and welcome to the interview. The first for 2010 has Shiral Lakthilaka, a very prominent lawyer and a rights activist in Sri Lanka. Shiral, very warm welcome to the program and a Happy New Year as well.
Thank you very much and Happy New Year to you also.
Shiral, you've been in politics now for decades?
Yeah, since actually from university days I was in politics.
Yeah.
That is from 1984.
And always associated or anchored to a particular party or an ideology, and you've shifted your party accordingly.
Yeah, at the beginning I was a Marxist.
Yeah.
I was a Marxist and then I switched off my Marxism into a social democracy in 1994. Then I'm now switched off to this liberal democracy since 2001. So,
what has fueled that change, in terms of your political growth?
actually, from the university days, I was committed for self-determination of the Tamil people and establishing a sustainable society through a more very stable state. In that direction, we time to time thought, but kind of practical ideology is useful for us. So at the university level, we were more idealistic in a sense and thought this whole right of Tamil people and the problem of democracy in Sri Lanka in a very broader sense. Then in 1994, we actually gathered around Mrs. Chandrika Kumaratunga, thinking that she would bring lasting solution to Sri Lankan crisis. Then in 2001, I gathered with Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe after ceasefire agreement, thinking that he would bring lasting solution to the Sri Lankan crisis. So this tended me to change my ideologies, not drastically, but time to time I changed practically towards this last resort.
But is politics always of expedience and practicality? Have you maintained a sense of principles as well, if you agree with me that that is something sorely lacking in our politicians today?
From the beginning up to now, I try my best to stick for one policy.
Yeah. Which is?
My policies are, one is that ethnic harmony, democracy and human dignity. So these are the basic ideals I always looking after and always stood for. So in Sri Lanka, I agree that in politics it's very difficult to balance the policy and manipulation. So you have to go here and there. If you stand for one policy, then your party is not for that policy and trying to seek power. Then you have to, when they are trying to manipulate it, you are in a very difficult situation. But my experience is it's not that hard. You can manage.
Yeah. Now I did hear when you said correctly when you said that you were in university in '84.
Yeah.
In a sense, that was a violent time for this country. Were you in your what you just said was it influenced by that violence, by that violent context and the anti-Tamil program of '83?
Yeah, now if you look at my present policies, I'm totally against violence. But as a youngster, when I joined the Colombo University Faculty of Law, I joined the then student union called Independent Students Union. It was a breakaway group of from Communist Party, which had always fights with JVP. We took the stand of right of self-determination of the Tamil people. JVP took the stand of Mr. Vijay Veera's then policy that there is no self-determination for Tamils, but you have to talk about self-determination of Sri Lankans. So this led for various skirmishes, clashes, and
you were in the
violence.
forefront of defending your own.
I mean, unfortunately, you know that at that time our leader was assassinated,
Right.
Mr. Dayapathirana. Then that led to various violent fights between JVP student wing and our group. Ultimately, a lot of people died at that time. Actually, this led me to believe that there is no purpose of fighting for absolute truth. There is no absolute truth as such. As Marxists, we tend to talk end justify means kind of approach. So when you have that kind of approach, it's very easy to kill a person, attack or assault a person. But now I don't believe that is as a correct approach.
Shiral, I know you also as a student, and a very good one at that, of conflict resolution, the practice as well as the theory. It is a question I have asked other guests on this program as well, and certainly during and after the height of war. And it is quite simply this. The theory of conflict resolution, as you have in a sense touched upon as well, which is that the ends does not always justify the means, and that, for example, in the Sri Lankan context, the belief or the school of thought that negotiations could have been a way in which a political settlement and a final solution could have been brought about. Now, you match that with what happened in the middle of last year, and the school of thought that believes quite the contrary, that you were dealing with a force, the LTTE, that would not and could not have been pegged to a process of negotiations in a sincere, meaningful manner. The student of conflict resolution in you, how does that persona deal with the reality of what occurred on the ground? How do you reconcile yourself to maybe the mismatch of theory and its relevance in the Sri Lankan context?
No, I don't think that what has happened was a mismatch of a theory.
Yeah.
You know, the LTT is LTT is a creation of external and internal factors and actors, and also our crisis of Sri Lanka. If you look at from 1930s, there was a political issue, power issue, as well as value issue. Now, actually, when LTT was born in 1980s, they tried to over-determine power over the politics and value.
Yeah.
And they started a very ruthless, violent struggle to achieve its own goal. And while they were going through this whole path, they took various wrong decisions, like assassination of Rajiv Gandhi and killing of Sri Lankan state leaders, all kind of things. Now, what has happened in Nandikadal Lagoon is the Indian factor. For the first time in Sri Lankan conflict, Indian factor was effectively neutralized. If the Indian factor was there, we would have not been able to decimate the LTT in this way. So, you know, after the Cold War era, the world politics have devolved its power to various regional powers. So India is a regional power. If India says you have to do this, we have to do that.
Yeah.
What has happened is India was with Sri Lankan government side. So quite apart from the military strategies, that factor helped Sri Lankan government to continue its military battle.
You answered one aspect of the question I posed, and as I said, I'd asked this question before, which is the real politic. But the question also had another dimension, which is that the belief, the school of thought that suggests that you would never have had any kind of meaningful negotiations with the LTTE, because it was not an entity, as had been proven ad nauseum, ad infinitum in the past, who was sincere, even though the state might have been on occasion in coming into and staying into a process of negotiations. I mean, briefly, do you have any thoughts on that? I mean,
yeah, now